The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
Reb Meir Halberstam, the Admar Michochagova, was in a labor camp called Sosnova in Siberia, and it came time for Rosh Hashanah. And somehow, miraculously, someone had smuggled a shofar into the camp when they came originally. The problem was it was impossible to blow it, because the second you'd blow it, the NKVD would hear you blowing it, and they'd realize you're practicing religion, and that could be the end. They did not know what to do. And then he hit upon a genius idea. The way that they would arouse the camp and call them to work, the call to work was with a large bell. They'd ring the bell, and all the inmates would come running. They'd have to line up, and they'd go off to the work sites, cutting trees like we said before. So one day, when there were no NKVD around, he broke the bell, and the bell was no longer usable. And there was a big commotion amongst the NKVD and the different prison guards. What are they going to do? And he came to them and he says, I heard what happened. I have an idea. He says, we have an old trumpet, old horn in one of our barracks that somebody brought here one time. And you know what? I'm going to volunteer that tomorrow morning I'll blow it, and that will arouse all the prisoners, and that'll be the call for them to go to work. And they said, yeah, show it to us. And he comes back with it, and he blows a loud blow. They're like, oh, that's pretty good. We'll make an announcement. There's going to be a different... And that's what happens. The next morning, a rumor went across the camp that there's going to be the Kiyah Shofar. Everyone should be outside the barracks before the call to work. And right before the call to work, he got up there and in a loud voice he said, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam shekedishanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu l'shme'a kol shofar shechiyanu v'kimanu v'gironu. And then he's turned to the guard. And the guard says, yeah. And he blew a kiyah and a shvarim and a teruah and a tekiah. And all the prisoners were mekayim the mitzvah of Kiyah Shofar in that crazy circumstance. There was a fellow by the name of Reb Yaakov Levi from Bnei Brak who was a concentration camp survivor. He was in a camp called Dornau, and it seems like they had textile factories that the prisoners were brought to. And he writes that he himself was fortunate enough to find a large bale of wool that he smuggled back into the camp. And it took him a while, but he spun that wool by hand. And eventually he made enough threads, and he was able to put threads on a torn prison garment. And for the first time in the camp, there was a talis katan, there was a pair of tzitzis. He said, over the next period of time, before the appel, when they had to work long hours and people had no koiches, over 1,000 yidden in the camp would wake up early and before, so they could quickly put the tzitzis on, make the bracha v'shekedishanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu al mitzvahs tzitzis, quickly take it off and pass it to the next person, straight down the line. Over 1,000 yidden were up, for perhaps they could have the chance to be mekayim a mitzvah, to fulfill the mitzvah, l'man tizkaru, so we could remember the Rebbeinu Shalom, and the person asher yasaisam, they could perform the mitzvah, v'chai bahem, and the mitzvah could bring them life. The Rebbeinu Shalom shall help each and every one of us realize that life with asiyah, life with performance, is the ultimate life. Life with chukim, life with mishpatim is the ultimate life. But most importantly, ani Hashem, that only comes when a person's relationship is out of love. They love being a Yid. They're proud to be a Jew. There's a simcha of being a Jew.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org